Yeah, what I wanted to talk today about, what I want to talk about is this idea of what it means to be embodied. I think it was on one of Sean's past classes, or maybe it was on one of his retreats. At some point, somebody asked, what do you mean by that? What do you mean embodied? And I think it warrants like a deeper dive. Because sometimes, as practitioners or as teachers, we have these words that we throw around and we say things like embodied, but not everybody always, that's not a familiar word to everyone, perhaps, or not everybody, we might have this like felt sense of what that means because we've felt it through our practice, but perhaps if we're new to the practice, to tell someone to like get embodied or to be embodied, it's like, what is that? So I think it's worth a bit more of an explanation or an exploration. And I think one way that we can explore is thinking about the opposite a little bit. Like, well, what does it feel like when I'm not embodied? Um, there's so much information in the body, or information that we get through the body. And I think we could even argue like all of the information that we have about reality and who we are and where we are and what's going on, perhaps all of the information is through the body. We have like the senses and sight and smell and taste and sensation, and this human body is how we interface with our world and with reality and with other people. So to be disconnected from that, in a sense, like to not to listen or not to be able to listen, in a sense, it disconnects us from reality itself, from the experience of reality itself. To not speak the language of the body, and when I say the language of the body, I'm thinking something along the lines of like wisdom or intuition. The language of the heart, the language of the belly. We talk about having that gut feeling, or that heart feeling something in my heart. It's like a knowing. Like we have this cognitive type of intelligence that's up in the head, but also all of our stories come from the head. So if we're living in this like just in the head logic based world, there's a lot of well, is it true? Right? Is it true? But we have this different type of wisdom that comes through the body itself. And it's like an experiential intelligence, right? And it's more connected to the here and to the now, right? So that's one way to think about it. But we also know, what else lives in the body. Like wisdom and intuition lives in the body, but trauma lives in the body, So for some of us, perhaps a lot of us, like the body can seem like a real scary place to be. And, sensation in the body can feel like something to avoid, or something to distrust, perhaps, right? So the question is, how can we befriend the body and work with the body as like this ally and helping us develop like a clearer sense of reality of what's happening right here, right now? Like, how can the body be our ally or a partner in greater mindfulness, right? And I think the best way to start to do that kind of stuff is with meditation, right? Is on the cushion. We can work with just general body awareness. We can work with body scans. We can work with breath awareness. We, we partner all these body-centered practices with self-compassion, with like a gentle, a kind curiosity. And we work with the body within our window of tolerance, right? And if you haven't yet seen David Treleaven's video that's on the dashboard about the window of tolerance, that's a really, really good one to check in with. And if we get, I think the more and more practice we get with listening to the body and connecting to the body, like through meditation, then it sort of becomes easier to also connect with the body out in the world. It becomes easier, I think, to integrate those practices as we're moving through our day. When we're in relationship, or when we're in the office, or when we're in the middle of doing something, like we're more likely to notice, to go, oh, I feel a little something in the belly, or I feel a little something in the chest, or like the body is calling to me somehow and trying to give me information. We can think about like mindful eating. If we have a practice on the cushion of observing the body, it becomes easier in the midst of eating to go, oh, I notice fullness. I think it just becomes easier to connect to these sensations of like stability or ease, perhaps, because we've had practice observing those sensations without the distraction of moving through our daily lives, right? How we hold the body, we know, influences our state of mind. There's a great, also on the dashboard, Susan Kaiser Greenland has a video where she talks about, the superhero pose. And she talks about it like working with kids, but for all of us, we know, like, sit up a little taller and you're going to immediately feel a little more awake and alert, so we can really use the body to help change the mind. And just the same way that the mind can change the body, we know when we go into depression or something, like we have a tendency to tighten up or to curl in. There's a great example in Buddhism. Actually, there's this posture called the royal ease, and you see the Buddha of compassion all the time, kind of like with one knee up and the arm on the knee, kind of leaning back. You see a lot of statues like that, and it's kind of like this great, like, restful pose. Like, if you can, when someone's embodied, you kind of like think of someone that's embodied and how they present in their posture. They're just like totally at ease. And so this posture of like just leaning back and elbow on the knee, it's like this posture of like, everything's cool, like I got this, like no matter what's going on, the situation is perfect and you're perfect and I'm perfect, and there's not actually anything to do here, right? It's totally okay. So I think, that's a great way to explore, or just like, what's the body look like when we're not in the present moment and not being mindful, and like, what is, when we're fully just like embodied, what does that look like, and what does that feel like in the body? Because we're more than just the body, and that is true, but also the body is like how we move through the world. Like, we are in this human body, we're having this human experience. And so, healing our relationship to our body and becoming more embodied throughout our day, um, is in itself like a process of awakening to the present moment and being more present. And when we are embodied, we are able to be present. We're here, we're now, um, and being embodied makes presence possible.